Good morning, everyone. Welcome to morning meeting. Today we're joined by Fern, one of our barred owl ambassadors. As always, let me know where you guys are tuning in from today. If you guys have any questions, I would certainly love to answer them. All right, Miss Fern. So I'll give everyone a second to jump in with us this morning. Give you guys a little bit of a close-up of this beautiful, beautiful lady I have with me today. Say good morning, Fern. Yeah, okay. Hi, Mom. And Dad. Right, Fern. So Fern is a barred owl, B-A-R-R-E-D. And they are one of the most common types that we have around here. So we do see them a lot, hear them a lot. Good morning, Katie. Say hello, Fern. So these guys are the ones that sound like monkeys. So if you've ever heard anything that sounds like a monkey outside, it's probably one of these guys. They make more vocalizations than any of our owls here. They make over 100 different calls. So their call is the who cooks for you, all call, which is kind of like hoo, 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 hoo. But with over 100 different calls, they make several different variations of that. So if it sounds like a monkey, it's one of these guys. Oh, thank you, Kara. You're her favorite. She's a lot of people's favorites. Good morning, Teresa. Yeah, she looks much better, Kara. So as you guys have noticed, a lot of our raptors are in the middle of their molting. So Fern looks much better than she has the last couple weeks. Byron, unfortunately, just started some of his molting around his face, so he looks very silly right now. But Fern has mostly started to grow her feathers back. She looks much better than Byron does right now. Right? Yeah, so they do replace those feathers every year or so. They will replace different feathers at different points. So she may replace a feather every couple years, but she's gonna molt every single year. So those feathers grow in tiny little waxy tubes, and Byron will actually help her rub the wax off of the dead part. Because of course the part closest to the body that still has blood, it's still growing. But then it hits a point where it starts to die, and that's where you can start to scrape the wax off, and that's when the new feather emerges. Good morning, Kim. Yes, you are beautiful too. Right? Can you look at the camera instead of me? There we go. So these guys are one of our medium to large species around here. They're not too afraid of humans. We see them all the time hanging out in the middle of the day. Even though she is fluffy, she actually only weighs a little over a pound, about 1.25 pounds. Byron is actually just about 1 pound exactly. So they're very fluffy. So you see down to my second knuckle in fluff. So all that fluff helps them have silent flight, as do all owls that are healthy. And then on her farthest part of her wing, see if the camera, when I flip it, it'll show you. Let's see if it'll... Yeah, so you can see right on that feather right there, all those little serrations that she has. So that's called her fluted edge. So that's going to help her to have silent flight. She can actually get around pretty well, unlike Byron. Her injury is head trauma. Oh, thank you so much for donating, Kara. As always, we are super grateful for all your donations. We don't receive any state or federal funding for the work we do. So we are grant donation funded as well as our program fees. So thank you so much, Kara. We couldn't do the work we do without help donations just like yours, so thank you. Jen, I do have the best job ever. It's pretty awesome. So I help take care of these guys. We bring them to schools, libraries, nursing homes. We bring them right now currently about 400 programs a year. Of course, when we're not in a pandemic, and we can go off-site. But we are really excited to be in our new building. Hopefully later this fall, we'll actually have a nature center and classroom. A lot of our reptiles actually live off display just because we have nowhere to have them in our office. So we're really excited to be in our new building in a couple months, hopefully. Of course, the pandemic has thrown a little bit of a kink into that, so we're just going with the flow now. Kara, do the males molt at different times than the females? So each individual is different. So I'm not sure if it's gender specific, but because like our other raptors, of course, are also molting. But they just, depending on the individual, it does depend on when they're gonna do more. It depends what feathers they're molting. Cause like I mentioned, they're not gonna replace all of them every year. They'll replace sections of them. They do, at least our birds, we notice they do generally molt a lot of their head. But they will replace some primary feathers and their flight feathers as well, and all over their body. So right now there's fluffy feathers all over all of their enclosures right now, that we clean up, and then the next day there's more of them. So I'm not sure if it's a male-female thing, but now that you say that, I had noticed our males generally do molt later. Like Byron's just now molting his face. Leo last year molted pretty late. He had replaced both of his feather tufts and a lot of on his head, and then a couple of his primary feathers on his wing. So you might be onto something. It may be male female, which it makes sense, especially with like a mated pair. The male is the one going to catch a lot of the food, on the female is sitting on the nest taking care of the young. So it might make sense for the females to molt first while the males are still catching a lot of the food. Once the babies are bigger, mom will help a little bit. But the male's primary job is caregiver. So that would definitely make sense. You might be onto something. Good morning, Eudora. What's this owl's name? This is Fern, and she is a barred owl. Barred. One of our most common owls here in Maine, unlike our barn owls, Barn. So these guys are really, really common around here. We see them all the time, hear them all the time. The barn owls here in Maine are actually really rare. So these guys are called barred owls because of all of her beautiful striping on her belly and her tail. The barn owls have a very much different look. They're whitish, orange, in plumage. So vastly different. The barn owls have more of like a screeching call, where these guys sound like monkeys. Good morning, Naomi from Rhode Island. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Carolyn and Molly. Say hello, Fern. Good morning, Jacqueline. Good morning, Grace, Pamela, Catherine, Melanie. Good morning. Teresa appears to be listening intently. So especially our owls will notice that they look at us when we're talking. It's just kind of a thing that they do. I wish you would look at the camera, though. They're the ones that want to see you. I see you every day, miss. Yeah, you're so pretty. She is very cute, Eudora. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Eudora. Bianca, unfortunately, did pass away a couple of years ago now. And so we've been looking for a little over a year before Fern came to us, for a female barred owl for Byron. He was very, very lonely. Him and Bianca had lived together for many, many years. Bianca had been with us 23 years before she passed away, which is incredible. They can live 20 to 30 years in captivity. And then Byron had come to us in 2007. So he's about 15 years now. So he spent a lot of his life with Bianca. Was very lonely after she passed away. So we'd been looking for a lovely female roommate for him. He's very much a protector type boyfriend. So we were very lucky that Fern came to us actually as a patient. She had been hit by a car with pretty severe head trauma. So she can actually fly relatively well. She can get it all around the enclosure where Byron cannot. He has a wing injury. So she can get around, but she's not quite there because of the head injury. So that's why she is non-releasable. Thank you so much in the past for adopting and sponsoring Bianca. We do offer adopted ambassadors for all of our ambassadors, so you can do that through our website if that's something that you would like to do. A lot of people give them as like gifts and stuff like that. They'll come with a little card. It has a picture of the ambassador, their story, personal story, as well as their species, natural history information. It is an annual sponsored trip, so it's $25 for the year. It's just a little card that we send you. It has a little tracking little card, and we really love when people give them as gifts. It's a really fun thing to do for people that don't necessarily like items and stuff like that. We've also had a lot of people give like private tours and stuff like that as gifts as well. Good morning, Robin from Freeport. Good morning, Ann from Topsfield. Oh, thank you so much for donating, Kim. That was really sweet of you. Thank you so much. Jacqueline, is she a permanent resident? Yes, she is. She is non-releasable. So all of our ambassadors are non-releasable for some reason or another. Fern can't go back out into the wild because of her head injury. A lot of them do have physical injuries. Some of them were kidnapped out of the wild as babies, and they're imprinted on humans. They don't know what they are. It's kind of like when you see the cartoon with the duck following the dog or the human. So that's what imprinting means. It means that they learn that they're not a wild animal, or that they learn that they're the wrong species. So Fern is an ambassador with us at the Center for Wildlife. I would never have a patient out on a glove like this, with them sitting so calmly. We do our best to release all of our patients back to where they came from. That's where they would prefer to be. That's where they belong. We always want to keep wildlife wild when possible. So Fern, unfortunately, can't go back out into the wild, but she serves as a wonderful ambassador and can go to schools and different programs and teach people about her species, as well as why she came to us and what we can all do to help keep wildlife just like Fern safe. So with Fern's injury, she was hit by the car, and there's a really easy thing that we can do to prevent that. I will openly admit it. I used to do it. I'd throw like my apple cores, banana peels, stuff like that out the window because it was food. It was going to biodegrade. It's fine. It wasn't plastic. But what actually happens is when we do that, I know you see the bird over there. So we throw our apple core, for example, out the window. Doesn't matter how. You can tell me you have a great arm. It doesn't really matter. It's still within a distance of the road. And so a mouse or a squirrel or a rodent is going to come to the side of the road and start munching on that food. Our raptors, like Fern, they don't know when they're going to get that next meal. They see that rodent, squirrel out in the middle open. They go, oh, cool. Swoop right down. They get tunnel vision. They don't learn to cross the road like we do. They don't learn to look both ways. They learn how to socialize and talk. They learn where to live. They learn how to hunt. Don't learn how to live with humans and cross the road. So that's something really easy that we can do to help keep wildlife like Fern safe, is just keeping our food scraps and litter and stuff like that in our car till we get to wherever we're going. It's a really easy thing that we can all do. Oh, you're welcome, Eudora. Oh, thank you. Kara, you adopted Henry. Thank you. His picture is probably one of my favorite ones. It's very, very cute. There's a couple really cute ones. Good morning, Marie, Patty, Nelson, and Rowie. Welcome. Say hello, Fern. So I'm gonna move my camera up just so I can try to see you guys. You guys can see her a little bit better. Right, Fern? Easy. So there's a bird and a patient right next to us that's not overly thrilled about what's going on right now. Right? And when she turns around again, you can see those really dark chocolate brown eyes that she has. Oh. So that makes our barred owls unique within our local owls, because most owls have yellow in their eyes. So our barred owls are our only local exception to that. So that's another way you can tell them from other species, besides the striping and the call, is those really dark brown eyes. Alright, Miss Fern. Can I show off those, Fern? Hello. So you can see all those little bristles around her beak. So those are called rectal bristles, and what they're going to do is help for sensory. Owls don't have great vision right in front of their eyes, even though they are very, very large. They have great vision. But they can't see great right up close. So they're going to use those bristles for sensory. She may actually let me show you her ears. So there's a little ear flaps. Those flaps are just on the side of her head. She has one high, one low. So that helps her hear way better than we can. A lot of our owl species we estimate, can hear a mouse from about a football field away under 2 or 3 feet of snow. So their hearing is way better than ours. So we always try to be mindful of our volume when we're around our owls in particular, just because they can hear way better than we can. But those asymmetrical ears, so one high, one low, helps them hear everything that's going on around them. So they can hear everything that's going on above, everything below. And if you can see, so this ring right here, right where her ear flap was, so that actually acts kind of like us hearing with our hands up to our ears. It's called a facial disc, and essentially points sound down into their middle ear. Oh, yeah. What do you think? She just winked at me. So you might have saw her nictine membrane come across. So just like reptiles are birds who are distant cousins of reptiles, they do have a nictine membrane, which is a clear layer that comes across the skin or front of the eye, so they don't get stuff stuck into their eye when they're flying. So sometimes you will actually see that go across. Right, Miss Fern. Hello. You're so pretty. Yeah. Hello. What do you think? So Fern and Byron actually have an extra special role with us. You guys have heard that, like, Violet, our turkey vulture, was fostering a couple babies. She actually just ended her summer with them, so she's back in her enclosure, so we're really excited to have her back. Our 2 great horned owl ambassadors, Gala and Gaia, are currently fostering 2 babies, and Fern and Byron actually do as well. So they had a baby in there for about a month or so earlier this spring, but because we are planning on moving all the ambassador enclosures over to the new facility, and we weren't really sure when that was going to happen earlier in the pandemic, and so the baby hung out with the 2 of them. It was very, very tiny little fluff ball when it first came in back in April or May. It came in. So the 2 of them kind of taught that baby how to be an owl. And then the baby was actually put in with a patient, adult female barred owl, who has been continuing to foster the baby all summer. So the baby is still here. So we're really excited to be able to release that little baby back out into the wild. Just because we didn't know when we were going to be moving the enclosure, so we didn't want to stress that baby out. Because all of our ambassadors' enclosures are built just for them. So there is a bit of a design that we have to adhere to when we're putting enclosures together. So like we need, even though Fern can get around, she can have all these higher perching and stuff like that, Byron can't. So Byron needs kind of like little steps to get up to where he wants to be. We don't want him going very high just because he has that wing injury. He doesn't he can get around, but he's not very graceful at this point in his age with his injury. So we have locations that Fern can get into her enclosure, but Byron can't because it's too high. He can't get up there. It's for his safety, so he doesn't get hurt. So that's always the priority when we're deciding what we're going to do for perching and how we're going to set up the perching and stuff like that. As we don't want them to get hurt is the top priority. We want them to be able to get around and be able to get in. If they want to sit in the sun, they can. If they want to sit in and be hidden, we want them to be able to do that. We want to make sure that they have different thicknesses in the perching so that their feet don't get sores on them, called bumblefoot. So there's a lot of different factors that we're thinking about when we're designing their enclosures. So it isn't as easy as just being like, okay, let's put them in one of our patient enclosures. Not quite that simple. Just because they are built just for them. So a lot of our patient enclosures, we do have specific ones that are for birds, some for mammals. We have one that's specifically just for songbirds, so we have a bunch of perching just for them in there. So we rotate out like bigger branches and different perches, but our ambassadors have injuries, so we have to be very mindful of that when we're putting their enclosures together. Kara, how many fosters can they take care of at once? So in the wild, they would have anywhere from 1 to 3, maybe 4 babies. Generally, the average is usually about 2 or 3. So we wouldn't put more in them with them. But Byron and Bianca had actually fostered 44 babies, I believe it was, together. And that was since Byron has been with us since 2007. So the two of them made wonderful parents. They did really well with those babies. So we're very excited to see how Fern grows into a foster mom in her future. So she did get a little taste of it, but she hasn't had a baby all summer, like Violet and Galileo and Gaia have. Right, Miss Fern? How are we doing? No. You gonna see? What are you doing? Can you show off your head? Like, no. But you want me to. You're so pretty, Miss Fern. And so if you guys have any last questions, we can certainly answer them. We are going to wrap up in a few minutes. You might be able to hear Bertram talking because he's obviously starving. Right, Miss Fern, you have wax on you. Tell Byron to help you out with that. You're so pretty. Yeah, so Fern we know is at least about 2 years old now, at least. She did come to us in late fall 2018 as a patient. So we're not totally sure exactly how old she is. So she's at least 3. But she was an adult, so who really knows? Thanks, Kara. Yeah, luckily, Sarah, I think, will be on tomorrow, and then I'll be back Saturday. I just go with the flow, as this pandemic has certainly forced us to do, and which is nice in itself, just because, yeah, as long as everyone's fed and cleaned, then that's all that really matters, so. Because Byron said he's starving, and Bertram says he's starving. Yes. Alright, Miss Fern. Hello. So I'll give you guys one last close-up, and then... Hey, can you turn around, please? Easy. There you go. One last close-up, and then we'll sign off for the day. Hello. Oh, you're okay. Oh, Missy. You're okay. What's wrong? There you go. Hello, Miss Fernie Fern. Just talons. And it mentioned, so she came to us from Elliott, for those that are of you that are local. So there's a about a 12 to 13 mile stretch in Elliott near Kittery, Maine, where it's just wetlands on both sides of the road for several miles. And so our barred owls really like to live near wetlands and swamps, but they will live in a bunch of different habitats. They're not too picky. We call them generalists because they will eat pretty much anything they can catch. Small mammals, small birds. They really like amphibians, which is why we generally see them near water. But they're not too picky. That's where Fern had come with. We'd actually got 60 barred owls that winter. A lot of them coming from that one stretch of road, just because they are so light. And so we had a spell where it kept getting really cold, and then it'd warm up and de-thaw, and then freeze again, and then thaw again. And so that back and forth between the freezing and thawing actually made the ice really thick. So at a pound and a quarter, or a pound-ish for a male, they weren't able to break through the ice that winter, and so we got a lot of these guys, unfortunately, in early winter 2019. But that is where Fern came from. She's a local girl. Oh, you're welcome, Teresa. Say have a great day, everyone. Oh, thank you, Robin. Hi, Dan. Good morning. So thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in with us today, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Say have a great day, Fern. Bye, everyone.